of Trump's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. They're also on Capitol Hill today. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're the co-heads of the new department, though it's not actually an official department. What can you tell us about their plans on the Hill?
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement and interest from Republican senators. Many of them have been trying to cut federal spending in various areas and in government agencies over the course of their own careers. So they come with sort of a laundry list of ideas about specifically where they want to see those cuts. I think the challenge, and Republican senators are acknowledging this to me today, is that what is one senator's waste, fraud, and abuse is another senator's constituency, right? Some of these senators have things and agencies in their states that employ people, and I think that that is going to be one of the really difficult pieces of trying to knit together a constituency to back some of these ideas. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more after this 2 o'clock meeting today, so we'll be staying tuned on what exactly the plan is. Right now, it's a little bit light on details, and every senator's imagination is sort of running wild with whether or not they're going to take up some of the ideas they've been working on over the course of the last several years.
A lot going on.
It's not going to be good.
You, Lauren Fox, will
it's not going to be good for Americans.
Brianna?
We have Republican Congresswoman Stephanie Bice of Oklahoma with us now. She is a member of the House DOGE caucus, which I wonder if you thought that you would be a member of a caucus by that name, but nonetheless, thanks for joining us. Congresswoman Musk has said that he thinks DOGE could cut about $2 trillion, or roughly a third of annual federal spending. How do you do that?
Nope. Won't happen.
Look, I think there's a lot of ways that we can do that. There's two pieces to the spending pie, the mandatory and discretionary. And I think looking at the
tax billionaires
federal budget and figuring out
tax billionaires
and where can we find efficiencies is important. I'm actually really excited for Vivek
tax billionaires
to be here on Capitol Hill this afternoon to talk to members of the House and Senate about their ideas. Give us some information.
Tax
on what
billionaires.
You want to see. But Republicans are excited. We know that there is excess spending in government. We want to rein in that waste. And we want people to help us. And I think having Vivek and Elon on our side
billionaires.
is a great opportunity for us.
Ramaswamy has said he was asked about Social Security, and he would not commit to cuts, instead saying that they would eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. I think those are some of the things you have in mind when you're talking about efficiencies. But when you look at studies of the amount that would save if it's actually excised, it's puny. I mean, that is not anywhere close to the number that they're talking about. With
they're coming for our Social Security and Medicare.
Social Security to hit that number?
You absolutely do not have to cut Social Security to hit that number. As a matter of fact, Medicaid is where we should be looking at trying to find efficiencies. Healthcare costs have skyrocketed, particularly after Obamacare was implemented, and there are opportunities for us to try to find ways to rein in that spending on the healthcare side.
Quit charging Americans so much for pharmaceuticals.
That we should be looking at that we can tackle. But
go after the pharmaceutical companies, not Americans.
Discussed by House Republicans.
Well, it is by one, actually, your colleague. Let's listen to Congressman Rich McCormick.
Here we go.
We're going to have some hard decisions. We got to bring the Democrats in and talk about Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. There's hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved, and we know how to do it. We just have to have the stomach to actually take those
tax billionaires.
On.
I mean, this is something that is being discussed by people who are saying the quiet part out loud.
He actually didn't say cuts, but there are reforms that can be done to Social Security to actually shore it up. Look, the reality is, if we don't do something in the next 8 years,
quit giving Social Security to rich people.
So we have to do something to protect Social Security now and into the future.
If you make over a certain amount of money, you don't get Social Security.
About that, but we're talking about $2 trillion.
You don't need it.
If you had a smaller number, it might make sense what you're talking about, the inefficiencies. But that there wouldn't be a cut, or for instance, that if you're talking about, as Donald Trump has promised, deporting illegal immigrants,
that will cost us $100 billion
to Social Security. That is withheld from their pay in many, obviously many instances when it is on the books, which it is in a lot of cases. So you'd be losing that money. I mean, this isn't
$100 billion.
Efficiency. You're trying to say that there's $2 trillion in
if you get rid of immigrants,
inefficiency or waste in the government?
I think there's the possibility that that exists, but it's not attacking Social Security. It's going to be looking at discretionary spending and also Medicare, Medicaid. There's conversations happening around block granting. There's lots of areas I think that we can look at inefficiencies from the discretionary side.
What?
Look at the Department of Energy right now. They've been given trillions of dollars in IRA and IIJA dollars that haven't been spent efficiently. Looking at that waste, clawing it back if necessary, and then finding responsible ways to spend it are really what this conference is going to be focused on.
So, you have introduced a bill that tries to address duplicative grants, for instance. But again, I mean, how much money do you think that is going to save? Because what you're talking about is actually pretty small fry compared to the big number that Musk has outlined.
Tax billionaires.
When you are looking at your household budget, you start making the small cuts first. You start cutting subscriptions to online publications. You start, scaling back on going out to eat. Those small dollars add up.
Taking money from working class people. Taking money from poor people.
Rein that spending in. That's going to get us to where we need to be. Will it be $2 trillion? Maybe, maybe not. But if it's $1 trillion, it's in the right direction, and that's really what we're focused on.
Not if you're taking it away from hard working class Americans.
The growth in the deficit, stop our annual national debt, and get us on a fiscal path to
quit spending so much money on military.
We're not on that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people understand that with the budget, but in light of, you're talking about $6 trillion in annual spending, you're talking about $1 trillion. If you looked at a household budget and someone said to you, you need to cut this amount from your budget, right? And if you're living, especially paycheck to paycheck, which America is, you would have to sell your house. This isn't a matter of, I want Netflix, but I don't want Disney Plus or something, right? This is a matter of, you have to find the reason that
Good
we're
one.
in the fiscal crisis that we are in is because the Biden administration
Oh,
has spent
fuck you.
dollars that the country didn't have.
No.
Things that are unnecessary. And
No.
put a burden on American families.
No, that money pays for itself. That money reduces the national debt, you liar.
More per month than they were in January.
It reduces the national
That
debt,
in
you
itself
doofus.
is what we need to be looking at is
Liar.
how do we get this
It's
country
Biden's
back
fault.
on track
It's
at
Democrats'
the
fault.
which will add dollars
You know what you can
to
do with
the
yourself,
federal
girl.
budget to be able to spend and looking at reining in the
Biden's Build Back Better plan pays for itself and reduces the
Appetite for
national
spending is a
debt.
bipartisan one. We saw that with President Trump. We saw that with other administrations as well. I do want to ask you, when you're talking about, for instance, clawing back some of what Biden committed, on the infrastructure bill, do you want to rescind, for instance, that, including the money that went to Oklahoma?
I'm not suggesting that we have to rescind all of those pieces, but there are pieces of those bills that I think were not spent wisely. A perfect example is spending billions of dollars on on electric vehicle charging stations. There's $8 billion
Hell with the planet.
into that, and we have 8
Hell with the planet.
across the country that have actually been built. Why are we spending our resources on that?
Hell with the
$5 billion
planet.
going to electric school buses. That's not necessary.
Hell with the
It
planet.
wouldn't make any sense. These are things that
It doesn't make sense in Oklahoma.
And figure out
Makes sense
what's the
everywhere
best use of our dollars, and I don't think that's a good use of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think a lot of Americans say it should be looked at. I will just note, Oklahoma received a lot of money, billions of dollars to repair roads and bridges, which are something that I think there's bipartisan
Oklahoma has
support
also
for.
actually contributed millions of dollars to the federal budget to be able to get those dollars back.
No, you take more money.
Have contributed, maybe not the amount that they're getting back. Congresswoman Stephanie Weiss.
You take more than you give.
Thanks for
You
having me.
give nothing
You're
and you
expected
take.
to hear from
I'm gonna look it up.
Ramaswamy about half an hour from now.
Look at those morons.
To you live from the
Where's
Hill.
that shooter in New York?
On CNN News Central, the acting director of the Secret Service testified on Capitol Hill.
You know Elon Musk had a chin put in his face. He had hair put on his head.
What we're expecting to learn.
He looked like a hipster doofus
Amazon
before he
is
did
accused of
gender-affirming
excluding
care.
Some zip codes with large black populations from its prime high.
Remember when Republicans said they weren't going to cut Social Security and they weren't going to cut Medicare? Yeah, well, Republicans lie.
There's some hard decisions. We got to bring the Democrats in to talk about Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. There's hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved, and we know how to do it. We just have to have the stomach to actually take those challenges on. But we can't just talk about our discretionary budget. That's less than 25% of our budget. We have to have some real hard discussions.
They would like to cut veterans health care, $119 billion, eliminate health care for veterans. We're going to talk about the impact of all this stuff in a second. NIH, $47 billion. Pell Grants for education, $22 billion. Head Start, we all know what that is, $12 billion. The FBI, maybe they'd actually like to cut that, $11 billion. These, by the way, would zero all this stuff out. These are not just trims. This is eliminating this stuff. Federal prisons, the SEC, and so forth. And all of that adds up to $516 billion. And so there's still a long way from their $2 trillion target, even if they got all this stuff, and even if people accepted this. So yes, Joe, your opening premise is right. It is ridiculous.
So Musk and Ramaswamy are heading to the Hill today to start pitching these cuts. We should note, though, by the time they arrive late afternoon, the Senate will have gone home by then.
This week, House Republican Jody Arrington released a budget resolution that is bad news for Social Security. Let me tell you why. Arrington's budget includes a closed-door commission designed to cut Social Security, Medicare, and other vital programs. The White House has accurately responded and labeled this type of commission a death panel for Social Security. Social Security cuts are unpopular with voters of all parties. Republicans know this, which is why they choose to make these cuts in secret behind a closed-door commission with no accountability. Kevin McCarthy has taken it a step further by making this commission a part of its demands for keeping the government open for all of a month. Republicans continue to treat our earned benefits like political pawns, and they're willing to deny service to seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, and families. Hell no. Democrats must refuse to cooperate. Instead, let's continue to work to protect and expand Social Security through regular.
That they say one thing to the American people before the election and then do something different after the election. The House Republicans said they were going to protect Social Security and Medicare, and so did their presidential nominee. And now we learn after the election that House Republicans are planning to try to cut Medicare and Social Security and end it as we know it. House Republicans said before the election that they were focused on improving the quality of life of working class Americans. But after the election, they're focused on tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected.
That they could cut. John Thune, who is the Senate incoming Republican leader, who also met with Elon Musk this morning, told me that perhaps mandatory programs are areas that they are looking to make cuts in, like Social Security, for example.
All right. So the left-wing scare talk is that Republicans are going to be cutting Social Security, and there does seem to be like there's some discussion of that. However, originally, the original Social Security Act did not mandate solvency. The original withholding was 1%. I think it's around 12.5% withholding today. And it was designed to be pay as you go, and the people were living an average of about 3 years after they were getting Social Security. Well, things have changed. But as far as Republicans screwing Social Security up, not really, but yes. LBJ robbed the Social Security Trust Fund to fund Vietnam, and a lot of other administrations on either side of the aisle have thought that was a good idea. What Republicans are looking at now is privatizing Social Security. So we take the money you've paid in for the last 35 years of employment or whatever, 40 years, however long you've been working. You say, okay, we're going to take the top 6 investment houses. We're going to take that money in a lump sum. The government can just print money. It's all, what we used to call the appraisal business. As far as certain opinions of value, because an appraisal is an opinion, PFA, plucked from air numbers, well, the government can just print money. So let's say the government looks at you and says, okay, your work history, you put in $350,000. We're going to send that over to Goldman Sachs, and you're going to get 7 or 8% on that, and then you can retire not at $1,000 or $1,100 or $1,400 or $1,700 a month. You're going to be getting $4 or $5 grand a month, which you should, because your money should have been properly invested by the government. That's kind of where the Republicans are going with it. Yes, we're going to take the government out of it so that you could look at that as a cut, but they're going to dump the money into private investment houses so that people can actually have some quality of life who've busted their stones just to make some CEO, upwards in some cases of like 30 grand an hour or stuff like that.
You guys remember that State of the Union address when Biden got booed by the Republicans because he talked about how they wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare? Watch this. It's just to remind you.
Some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority.
Look at stupid Kevin McCarthy shaking his head. Liar. Liar, liar. Methinks thou dost protest too much. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene making a fool of herself.
That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion.
She's so classless.
It means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you.
It was Rick Scott at that time.
Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks.
That guy, Mike Lee. Okay, I just want to point out, that guy was looking so incredulous, Mike Lee. He was busted talking to a bunch of billionaires about how he couldn't wait for Republicans to get back in charge so they could cut Social Security. And I can provide receipts on that. So this is just to show what liars the Republicans are. They make such a performance out of calling Joe Biden a liar. Well, they're the liars, because now, just like I showed, Elon Musk is on Capitol Hill with his little Doge plan to cut Social Security and Medicare. So, yeah, that's what you voted for, MAGA. Great job.
So I wanted to address the issue of Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, because Republicans are once again talking about making cuts. And I know that is making everybody nervous. But I wanted to calm people's fears a little bit and let you know what's going on. So first of all, this is nothing new. They've wanted to cut Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare forever. One good thing is that their margin come January will be less than it is now in the House. And we know how dysfunctional they are now, and they have been for the last couple of years. So that's one good thing. The second thing is we're not exactly powerless. They are counting on us checking out of politics, not paying attention to what's going on. But when we get loud, when this information gets out about a bill that's going to pass, that's going to cut Social Security or raise the age of retirement, that's when we can take action. That's when we can start calling our senators and congresspeople. That's when we can start spreading the information and letting people know what's going on. And that's when probably protests will start. People will show up at the Capitol. They will say, this isn't good for me. This isn't good for my family. And the more public pressure we put on our representatives, the less likely it is to pass. So pay attention to what's going on in the news. Pay attention when these bills come up and share this information so other people know. Because we don't have to just accept everything that they want to do.
What do you think about our cuts to Social Security? Something people should be worried about? I don't think they need to be worried about their Social Security. But we're going to have to be shrinking. We're going to have to be cutting. We're going to have to be very cautious. We're going to have to be prioritizing.
Thank you.
Hello, you guys. I just wanted to say this is really, really a slap in the face because I remember on the campaign trail that Trump said he would not get rid of Social Security, but the Republicans have been talking about this for years. They've been wanting to get rid of Social Security, but it has never happened. And I think that this is part of the 2025 agenda. And they're starting with the old people. Okay. You got to get rid of the old and then start down, right? Because the old people know too much. Excuse me. And then, what do you guys think? Now that Doge or whoever is in charge of the money of the system, Elon Musk and his weird ass, is trying to get rid of Social Security. Do you think if Trump was honest and said, hey, I want to get rid of Social Security, so I'm hiring these fools to do it, wouldn't you guys have voted for that? I think not. I think that this is a lie and a ploy because they want the 1% to be on top and people to be poor. If this goes through, a lot of old people, a lot of young people who depend on this, who are disabled as well, will have nothing and will be on the sidewalks, as they say. I really hope that this doesn't go through because honestly, I think if this really did go through, we will be seeing some riots. And if you think January 6th was a thing, baby, I think that January 20th is gonna be a thing, right? Not saying it is, but this is just crazy that they want to get rid of this and all people need it because they're talking about, well, the Social Security is going to run out of money by the mid 2030s. Well, you know what? COVID should have never came into play. If COVID never came into play, Social Security will be booming. Blame COVID, blame whoever was in the office at that time, talking about shutting people down, shutting down jobs. It's a whole mess. So now they want to take away Social Security. And a lot of people depend on that. And these Republicans should be ashamed. And if Trump is going against what he said, I think he should be impeached because this is super sad and it's really going to affect the elderly. Really affect the elderly. And it's sad. It's very sad. You guys leave a comment below. Tell me what you guys think about this. Do you guys even care because you're not old enough? If you are old enough, what do you think? If you have Social Security, what do you think about losing it come January 20th or whenever they think they're going to enact it? Leave your comment below. Have a great day, YouTube.